What if everything that makes you different is viewed as negative? The very circumstances of your existence and biological makeup were punishable, and laws were created to make who you are a crime. By the time I was 5, I had lost my mother to suicide and my only sibling to measles. My father abandoned me because he did not know how to raise a girl. So there I was, orphaned through the death of my mother and the rejection of my father, but I was fortunate. One of the lucky orphaned African girls, for my mother's siblings all stepped in to care for me at different points of my childhood. But if I was to say that I never felt the sting of not belonging in each one of their households, would be a blatant lie. You see, in my culture, there is a pity of hopelessness that is placed on children like me who are unlucky enough to have lost a parent, as if it was our own doing. And perhaps not just my culture, your culture as well. Nothing of substance is ever expected out of orphaned children. Failure is preordained, except I thrived. By the age of 12, I had been moved to the big city, Harare, the capital of Zimbabwe. You may all remember Zimbabwe for Cecil the lion. In Harare, I was enrolled in a school that facilitated the expansion of my horizons. I took part in public speaking, debate, sports. I excelled academically. At the age of 18, I found myself navigating British streets, making my way to the nursing home I illegally worked at under someone else's name. The road to getting me to England had been paved with good intentions. My aunt knew a Zimbabwean doctor who needed a young girl from back home to work for him and his family as a live-in maid. However, the doctor forgot to mention that my compensation for working for him as a maid would only be £100 a month. That was equivalent to 163 American dollars a month at the time. But I was one of the lucky ones. See, many young girls that are brought from developing nations to work as domestic workers or sex workers never make it out of that trade. This is actually known as modern-day slavery. At the age of 19, I found myself undocumented in America after the expiration of my visitor's visa. My life in England had been a nightmare, but my aunt knew a friend of a friend of a friend who lived in Omaha, Nebraska. What could possibly go wrong? My country of origin was declining rapidly. Zimbabwe has been marred with political violence, corruption, and greed that started with the violent seizures of white-owned farms for redistribution to landless Black Zimbabweans who had no farming knowledge or the finances to run farms. Zimbabwe was once the breadbasket of Africa, and to this day still boasts the highest literacy rates in all of Africa. But inflation rose so high in Zimbabwe that at one point, one needed a suitcase of money just to buy bread, milk, and eggs. Zimbabwe is now ranked as one of the poorest countries in the world. Over 5 million Zimbabweans have fled the country, and Zimbabwe no longer has a currency of its own. At 23, I married a white American man I knew to be violent, but I hoped that finally being able to adjust my undocumented status would balance out the abuse. But I was mistaken. Yes, I probably should have titled this TEDx talk A Series of Unfortunate Events. At the age of 28, after putting myself through nursing school, purchasing a home, and becoming the mother of 2 beautiful American children who are actually in the audience today, I was asleep in my La Vista home one morning when 4 to 6 immigration enforcement customs agents wearing bulletproof vests and guns and holding a clipboard with my face on it knocked on my door. I knew exactly who had sent them there. In retaliation to my finally finding the courage to end my abusive marriage, my American husband had reported my undocumented status to Homeland Security. It was the end of December in 2008. It was a month after he had attempted to kill me with his bare hands, and a month after I had obtained a restraining order against him. The reason I had failed to adjust my status in the 6 years I had been married to him was because of his lack of having a birth certificate, but that story is for another day. Prior to deciding to end my marriage, I had also come to terms with my true sexuality. I had known way back as a young girl growing up in Zimbabwe that I was attracted to other females. Way before I had seen Ellen on TV. In my coming to terms with my sexuality, I discovered the true horrors that come with carrying the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer label anywhere in the world. Homosexuality is illegal in all but 2 African nations, with some African nations even trying to impose the death penalty for homosexuality. I am the first person in the entire history of my family to ever publicly come out as a homosexual. Violence against sexual minorities is rampant all across Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, and even right here in America. Discrimination against LGBTQ individuals is evident. We see it with elected officials like Kim Davis refusing to grant marriage licenses to deserving citizens, even after a Supreme Court ruling saying it is indeed a human right. I celebrated my 29th birthday awaiting deportation in Cass County Jail in Plattsmouth, Nebraska. In the 30 days that I was in jail, I lost 20 pounds, contemplated suicide, and started writing the pages that would become a memoir titled Outsider, Crossing Borders, Breaking Rules, Gaining Pride. You see, I was one of the lucky ones. I was lucky enough to be English speaking and could understand what was happening around me. I was lucky to have family that lived here that had documentation and therefore could help me with legal assistance. Many illegal immigrants spend years behind bars trying to fight deportation on their own. My aunt and her family had acquired asylum within a year of getting here, something I couldn't be a part of because I'm not my aunt's biological child. The saddest thing about the way the American justice system handles people like me is the way in which we're separated from our families. Had I not had family here, the day of my arrest, my children, who were only 1 and 3 at the time, would have been placed in foster care. Had I been deported, my children would have grown up without a mother, just like I did. But here I stand, unbroken, because our struggles should not define us, and how small other people make us feel should not take away our desire to experience life in its fullness. I am still here, fighting to legally remain in this country. I lost everything that I had prior to my arrest in 2008, my nursing jobs and my home. I am now doing the most typical illegal alien job ever. I own a cleaning business, which I love. It's my gym. It allows me on a daily basis to interact with people from different backgrounds. Not only does it allow me to earn a living, it allows me to employ other people as well. I finally have documentation that allows me to work and stay here while my immigration fight is ongoing. It costs me approximately $600 a year to renew that document, but you can't call me undocumented anymore. I continue to write. My latest book is a work of fiction titled Indelicate Things. My number one job remains that of raising my children. You see, there is nothing easy about being an orphaned African girl. Nothing easy about being a once undocumented immigrant who was incarcerated for it. Nothing easy about being a queer woman of color. And very recently, nothing easy about being an outspoken humanist atheist. But all of those things make me who I am. So I say to you, now that we have marriage equality in America, can we also have comprehensive immigration reform? Thank you.